Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. This beard has gone. It's the youngest I've ever looked in over 25 years, but it's all in the name of Movember. I've taken the opportunity to raise awareness and any money for men's health. And as a mental health first aider, it's something that really means a lot to me as well. And the tenuous link to PETALS is the fact that this focuses on the people, not just the numbers that we tend to look at with PETALS. It's all about the people behind the numbers and the conversation to raise awareness. If you want to support me and my team on our Movember efforts, I'll put some details in the show notes and descriptions. But let's get on with our October update for 2025 with all the 42 changes we've made over the past 4 or 5 weeks. So I thought about sending out a typical newsletter on our mailing list, and I thought, you know what, I need to get back into content creation. So this is me getting back into the content creation game. This is going out on YouTube and all the podcast apps. So if you prefer to consume content this way, you're more than welcome. Alternatively, the newsletter is there as well, where I will be transcribing most of my points. As I mentioned in the intro, there's been a lot of changes over the past 4 or 5 weeks. Some stuff you will see and some stuff you might not, but it's all the stuff that we are chipping away to make the PETALS app a lot more user-friendly, basing it on a lot of user feedback as well, not just what we think is needed. And I'm trying to find a better balance actually of how I plan out what we want to do every quarter and then how we allow capacity to bring in the user feedback and address them along the way, along with any little bugs and little niggles that we notice ourselves as well. The big one you will probably notice straight away is the new team heatmap design. So we took on some feedback from a few different organizations and teams that were saying they were struggling to kind of read the grid. It's very easy to use as a conversation point as well. So I went back a few steps and had a look at the design and thought, well, let's make the language more natural. Yes, PETALS as a headings was not the most natural approach. Having the A average at the end of the table made more sense. And we also made it collapsible so you can sort of focus on the team scores first and then expand out to any individual scores, ideally. But that also gives you the before and after correlation really easily with any trends over time as well. Another piece of feedback we've had from users is trying to hand over team lead ownership for a team. So typically someone might register with the PETALS app, set up a team, and then they are forever part of that team and no one else can lead the team instead. So we've allowed team leader ownership handshake and flow to go into place, which is a lot of email handshakes, but at least it makes sure that everyone is aware of the process. So you typically go in, put in your new person's email address. They will receive an email. You will receive an email. They will accept the email. It's as simple as that, but it just makes sure that everyone is involved in the process along the way. And that should give you a lot better control and visibility from a team perspective, like of the team lead notes, which is probably a safe space that we were missing beforehand. And this is a lot more relevant as you start scaling up PETALS and getting more teams involved. When you are a smaller organization with just one team, that's fine. But if you've got multiple teams in your organization, then that becomes a bit more of a problem. We also noticed how it's difficult to kind of tidy up any empty snapshots or any redundant snapshots or duplicates. So the delete snapshot feature is there pretty much all the time now. I found it quite useful just to clean up any missing data that I just didn't get. So you might find that useful as well. Be very, very cautious. We have put a safety net in place there to make sure that you are deleting the right thing. All that data is destructive. So the moment you hit delete, it's gone. And we can't connect it to people's feedback on the personal level either. Another piece of feedback we got from some users was around the new snapshot. What happens when I say create new snapshot? So we added some helpful notes, we hope, to the right-hand side of that form for anyone that is new to creating snapshots. So again, taking on user feedback, realizing that we made a few assumptions in the early stages, but now we should become a little bit clearer as to what is expected from you as the instigator, from the team members, and what that timeline looks like. There were quite a few other little updates across the app as well, little tweaks here and there that we noticed. Even some of the spellings and stuff like that, we noticed it was like US English in one place and UK in another. So we're trying to standardize that to stand to UK English for now, being a UK product. And then when we think about going to internationalization and different languages in the future, we can start introducing it back at that point. So a nice little unexpected spotlight that we received last month I've been following a lot of the lead dev online webinars that have been going on recently, which Scott Carer has been facilitating, bringing in people from around the industry to talk about some quite common trends and problems and challenges. And there was a really interesting one that I unfortunately missed the other week from Sean Lewis from O'Reilly Media when they were talking about measuring team performance. And at one point, they talked about how they use PETALS, and that's a really useful framework for having conversations within your teams.
Yeah, how do you balance quantitative and quantitative in the context of your teams? Yes. Okay. Man, that's a question, right? I think that you have to have some level of quantitative information to understand what's happening, right? And I think I've seen a lot of different approaches to quantifying qualitative aspects of teams and how teams perform, and with varying degrees of success. I know one of the things that we've used at O'Reilly on some teams is the PETALS framework, which I don't know if you will play with that. Essentially, you're essentially asking the engineers, the ICs on the team, how things are going, and using that to track kind of metrics over time, which I really like because it tells a story and shows a picture of what the team feels versus just like how the team is doing. And I think those oftentimes really go hand in hand. So I think, definitely try to apply quantitative measurements to, those qualitative aspects. I also think that, and this might just be, maybe a little too old school, I don't know, or too simple. Just you have to communicate. You have to communicate with your engineers. You have to communicate with people.
And then later on in that week, I also found out that some people were talking to other people from their network, from the community of engineering leadership, and how other organizations that they've heard of were using PETALS as well. I'm not going to name names because they've not opted into that. But for me, it was just that eureka moment. This thing is happening. It is spreading all by word of mouth, not hard push, no advertising, no promotions really, just a lot of organic conversations and interactions with people around the industry that are realizing the value and the potential of PETALS as a framework. Eventually, what I really want to do is invite some of these organizations along to this content to talk about their journey, their stories, their examples, so you can learn from what we've all done. So that's something to watch out for in the new year, along with a few other cheeky surprises that we've got planned, you might have noticed in the previous content. So what's coming up in November? Well, we are introducing a new member to the team behind the scenes. Sertan from Omnia Global has been a big fan of the PETALS framework from its early days. It's someone I worked with back in the day when it was all created. He's been taking PETALS to every company that he's worked with since, and it's really exciting to see what they're doing at Omnia Global when I spoke to them the other week. Sertan's also a good friend, quite a strong engineer and all-round geek and nice person. So he was really keen to get involved. So welcome to Sertan in the crew. Looking forward to seeing what he can contribute to the whole project as well. Our main focus for this season, while we're in autumn still, give or take, is to get our new paid plans ready to launch in the new year. We've got a lot of work to do behind the scenes to make sure it works properly. We want to make sure that the payment gateways are all working correctly in the flow and making sure that organizations are getting the pricing points right, the right features available. So we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to get that infrastructure in place and really refine, get some feedback from our current users as to what they would potentially pay for. For new users, it would generally be you have multiple teams in your account, and that'll be the entry-level paid plan. And then we can bolt on extra features as you grow and scale in time as well. But that is our main focus for this season, to get that infrastructure in place so we can start introducing new organizations in the new year. We'll be taking on more feedback from our seed teams in our Slack workspace, where we are interacting with them quite regularly. We've got a two-way conversation that goes on, any problems they might face or any feedback they might have, and then we reach out to them as well to check what we could do to make things easier for them. So it's really nice feedback. We've got a few things coming down the line that we will announce next month. And the big exciting one for me personally is next Friday on the 14th of November, I will be talking at the Tech Mids Conf in Birmingham in the UK. They put out a pitch for papers earlier in the year, so I put PETALS in as an idea, and then they asked me to come along as a backup. So really excited about that. It was a shame that the person had to drop out, but it gave me a chance to step up and get into that space. And I can't wait to go and network with those people out there, talk about the journey we've been on with the PETALS app and the framework, and try and get a few more organisations just understanding the value in what it can bring them. Also, this will be my first proper public speaking events. I've done meetups before and a lot of kind of community events, but as a paid event, that's the first time people are paying to see me talk. Exciting and a little bit scary. So that's it for this month. Lots going on, real love from the community, which I really appreciate. Lots of extra usage on the app, and all those little pieces of recognition that we're getting through the grapevine, through the network, through the communities. It's really showing that we've got some potential here. Just a little reminder, Movember is happening this month. So I will appreciate any contributions you can make to make sure this furry lip is worth the effort. My family aren't particularly keen, but they know it's for the right reason. And if you've got any spare pennies, you probably shouldn't do this, but we do have a merch store now where you can get some mugs, t-shirts, hoodies and that sort of stuff. This month, put it towards Movember, don't worry about it. But that is something that we're playing around with. I'm getting little bits of merch just to try it out myself, and the team are as well. So that's it. Great to see you, and hopefully might see some of you in Birmingham next week. Cheers.